When was the last time you looked up at a plane and wondered why it still looks exactly like the ones our grandparents flew on? Same long metal tube, same tiny windows, same middle seats. What if I told you that in the next few years, you could be boarding something that looks more like a manta ray than a soda can with wings? Picture walking into a cabin where every seat feels like an aisle seat. Engines whisper above your head instead of rattling beside you, and the fuel bill is half of what airlines pay today. Stick around until the end because the countdown to these future aircraft is already in motion, and your next boarding pass might feel like a ticket into tomorrow. Before we dive into the details, I want you to stay with me all the way through this journey because the order of what's coming will surprise you. We'll start with small electric commuter planes, climb to supersonic speed, glide into hydrogen-powered jets, and even take a peek at drone taxis waiting to carry you over traffic. If you've ever hated middle seats, dreaded turbulence, or worried about the planet, this will change the way you think about flying. Airplanes have stuck with one basic design for decades, the classic tube with wings. But the blended wing body changes that completely. Imagine a stealth bomber stretched into a passenger jet, wide and sleek, gliding like a stingray. Inside, it feels like a movie theater grew wings. 2 wide aisles, overhead bins for everyone, and no middle seats. The body itself generates lift, which means less drag, lower fuel burn, and far fewer emissions. Numbers from early tests suggest fuel bills cut in half compared to current wide-body jets. That's huge for airlines and a game changer for the climate. The engines sit on the back deck, away from the cabin, which means quieter flights inside and softer noise for the neighborhoods below. Boarding won't feel like a traffic jam either, because the design allows for doors to open at once. Imagine shaving 20 minutes off every departure just by spreading out the crowd. And here's the part that makes this real, not science fiction. Delta and the US Air Force are bankrolling a demonstrator right now, aiming for its first flight in 2027. That's just around the corner. While the big planes evolve, small electric ones are already on the runway. Last year, an all-electric cargo plane flew across New York State. Now the design is being stretched to carry 9 passengers, range about 250 miles. That's Boston to Washington or Los Angeles to San Francisco on a single charge. The recharge time is only 30 minutes, which is basically the time it takes to grab a coffee at the terminal. Inside, it feels more like a maglev train than a turboprop. No fumes, no vibration, just a soft electric hum. And because each motor has just one moving part, maintenance costs drop by 70% compared with traditional aircraft. Cape Air has already placed orders, and the first paying passengers could be on board as soon as 2026. Now let's talk speed. Concorde once cut the Atlantic crossing in half, but at a massive cost. Supersonic flight is making a comeback with Boom's Overture, a sleek machine that cruises at Mach 1.4. That's London from New York in about 3.5 hours. The cabin has 65 lie-flat pods in a 1-to-1 layout, so no elbows in your ribs. The sonic boom is quieter this time too, more like a car door closing than a thunderclap, thanks to research from NASA's X-59 program. United, American, and Japan Airlines have already ordered more than 130 planes. The first commercial flights are expected in 2029, with tickets costing about half of what Concorde once demanded. And every engine is designed to sip 100% sustainable fuel. Faster, cleaner, and more affordable. Further down the runway, Airbus is chasing hydrogen. These planes would exhale nothing but water vapor. 3 shapes are being studied: a turboprop for short routes, a blended wing for larger loads, and a twin jet for medium distances. Cryogenic tanks would store the hydrogen at the rear of the plane. Imagine Paris to Cairo on nothing but hydrogen fuel. The big hurdle is infrastructure. Airports need new storage systems and pipelines, and Airbus is already working with Paris, Frankfurt, and Dubai to prepare. The target launch is 2035, and if hydrogen slows down, Airbus has a backup plan with open-fan engines that burn sustainable fuel and cut another 20% off emissions. But the revolution isn't just about engines and wings. It's about your experience inside the cabin. Picture sliding into a private pod with a 32-inch screen, or economy seats with a little more shoulder room that make red-eye flights survivable. Some designs include VR goggles at every seat, so you can escape into a 360-degree cinema or watch a live camera feed from the tail. Parents might board their kids straight into a netted playroom with soft floors and stars projected on the ceiling, leaving the rest of the cabin peaceful. And for those who love views, imagine a sky deck, a glass bubble rising above the fuselage, giving first-class passengers a 300-degree panorama of the clouds. Even the trip to the airport is changing. Electric air taxis, basically giant drones for passengers, are already in FAA testing. Instead of crawling through Los Angeles traffic, you could scan a code, hop into a Joby or Archer craft, lift off vertically, and land on the airport roof 12 minutes later. At about $3 a mile, it could actually be cheaper than a ride-share during rush hour. Airlines are already planning to bundle these tickets with flights, turning your commute into part of the journey. So when does all this become real? Here's the countdown. In 2026, the first electric 9-seaters will carry paying passengers. In 2027, the blended wing body takes flight. By 2029, Boom's Overture launches Supersonic service. By 2030, air taxi networks will connect major cities. And in 2035, Airbus expects hydrogen planes to fly across Europe. By 2040, half of all short flights could be electric or hybrid, while long-haul journeys lean on supersonic jets and manta ray-shaped wide bodies. The next time you squeeze into a narrow seat and hear the engines roar, remember that change is already taxiing down the runway. Planes that look like stealth bombers, cabins that feel like theaters, journeys that start with a drone taxi and end with half the emissions. That future isn't far away, and I want to know, would you pay a little more to cross the Atlantic in 3 hours, or would you choose the slower but greener ride? Share your thoughts because I read every comment. And stick around because next week I'll be climbing into a hydrogen simulator to find out what zero carbon takeoff actually feels like.